Hi, Peter.
Hi.
How are you?
Very, very good.
Oh, so nice to be here in Nairobi again.
Here we are.
You see, this is a beautiful shuka.
Yes.
Do you know where it's come from?
I'm guessing Kenya.
Kenya. It's from
But
Maasai people.
what's the meaning?
Shuka is, I think it's local name.
Yeah.
And when Maasai people, when
Yes.
they go to the, it's for the gold and all this thing.
Oh, I thought it was a symbol of seniority or a symbol of knowledge.
No. I don't think so. But I bought a lot for Vietnam.
Yeah.
And when I bring it back to Vietnam, we put on the table, people like it.
They all
Very
like
colorful.
it. Yeah, very nice.
Okay.
Very nice.
Peter, welcome to this talk. And I know that you are busy, and you give me 30 minutes before going to Michael Victor farewell party at ILRI.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about you.
Tell me a bit about me. Well, I'm Scottish. I was, what's the best thing to say? You want a personal things or more professional
It's a bit of personal plus professional.
Yes, yeah. So,
but we talk more about professional things.
Okay, yeah. So I'm from Scotland. I've spent a lot of my life in different places. I worked in Asia, in Thailand. I worked in Africa, Ethiopia, Kenya. I lived for a while in the United States, in Washington, D.C. And I spent quite a lot of time in Ethiopia and Holland. I was 20 years in Holland. So my English does not sound Scottish because I have a Dutch something.
I struggle from the beginning with your English. You speak very fast.
It's a bit fast, yeah. I should slow down for this conversation, yeah. But I don't know why that is, yeah. So that's and I'm married, living in Scotland. I studied information science and I studied agricultural knowledge and spent my life in the international development space.
Beautiful. No, I mean, this is very good to know. I mean, I met you maybe more.
I think in
Addis more than 10 years ago.
Yes, yeah. You were just appointed.
Yeah, so joy appointment at that time, even not fully employed by ILRI.
Yes.
But it's actually that is bring the common interest into our story because I have been working for ILRI.
Yes.
You work for ILRI for long, and we had a good time together talking about communication and all this stuff.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
And I even learned from the poster. In Addis you have a CKM team, and I brought that model to Vietnam. I make ILRI in Vietnam, CGIAR in Vietnam, with the same template.
Those things,
we did.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But when I came to ILRI, people talked a lot about open access, and a CGSpace, open space, all this thing. And I didn't realize that the person behind all this story. Is Peter Ballantyne.
Well, when I came to ILRI in 2009, there was a very big discussion going on with the CGIAR, with FAO, but also like DFID in those days. Basically, the feeling was that our knowledge is not just on the shelf, but it was just really inaccessible. And if you're working, especially in development, many of the partners don't have fantastic internet. They don't have journal access. So we need to make our knowledge open. So before I came to ILRI, we did a kind of a study across the CGIAR looking at how accessible is CGIAR's knowledge. And in some cases, it was very, very poor. And so there was a whole big movement. We need to put our knowledge open. It needs to be able to travel. And if it doesn't have a passport and open access, it can't travel. People can't find it, people can't use it. And then everybody was making very fine statements. We, the CGIAR, we produce all the science. And then it goes to the NARs, the national countries, and then they put it to use. But in reality, more than half of the knowledge, you have to pay for it, and you couldn't get it. And so when I came here to ILRI, we said, right, we're going to change it.
When was it?
2009, end of 2009. Yeah. We said we're going to change this. ILRI's knowledge is going to be moving online. It was already some online. It was PDF files all over the place. And we said, no, we organize everything. We put it in a proper repository. Every document, every item will be there. You can download it. It will have an identity, an ID, a handle address, or a DOI, and people can use it and reuse it and reuse it. And at the same time, social media was coming, and everybody was excited. So we said, okay, we put the knowledge together. We combine with the social media. Our knowledge will travel. And that was the idea behind it. And CGSpace was kind of at the center for the knowledge products.
Who was there with you to develop this development, this story?
So when I came here, the communication and it was KMIS, Knowledge Management Information Services team, was mainly in Addis. And we were working with the Ethiopian colleagues there. There was some people in Nairobi as well. And we had a colleague called Sisai Webshed. He was the kind of the ICT librarian at that point. So we built the very first pre-CGSpace, which we called Mahider. And then we
it was completely ILRI owned at that time.
Yeah,
it's
we started off
yet.
ILRI only.
Okay.
And then we were talking to Michael Victor, who at that time was working for the Nile Basin Development Program, a kind of based at IMI, and we were speaking to people at the CCAF, the Challenge Program, and they said, we need a repository. So we said, okay, let's join together. And early 2010, CGSpace was born, together with ILRI, and then other people came on board. IMI came on board, the Alliance, Biodiversity International, CIAT came on board, IITA came on board, Africa Rice, and we started off building it up together like that.
Okay.
But people needed, they had those CGIAR research programs came on, and they needed a mechanism to share the knowledge. And because they were cross-institutional, we had to find a place where we could come together. And it was the kind of, for me, it's one of the best collaborations in the CGIAR, because it came all the centers, all the partners, and brought the knowledge together to make it more useful.
Okay. So how much it has been taken up by other CG center?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit, yeah, I mean, we didn't start from the top. We didn't say, okay, there's going to be a rule, you must do this, because that never works, or very difficult.
Yeah.
In a place like CGIAR, independent organizations where there's many scientists who are semi-independent, very independent. So we joined forces with a few. For example, in the very beginning, we spoke with ICRAF, and ICRAF were half interested, but they said, oh no, we want to have a different pathway. Okay, so they had a different pathway. But now, today, all the CG centers are involved, mainly because they have to report, and CGSpace is the reporting tool. So that's a fantastic incentive for us. So all the content comes in. It's not complete, CIMIT contributes, but they also have a separate database of all the they have other knowledge that's public funded by other sources. So it's not 100% complete. But at this moment, every CG center is in. But in the beginning, it was a smaller number of us, and we moved forward. Like IFPRI, we talked to them forever and ever, and then at a certain moment, they said, we want to be in. 4 years ago, and they've now become one of the very strong partners.
Yeah. So recently I talked with Michael and a few communication colleagues at CGIAR and different centers. I think that CGSpace is a good platform now.
Yeah.
When you publish something or index something there, it go to Google Scholar, and so it look like similar to PubMed, Web of Science, Scopus, and all this thing. But in terms of quality, peer review process and all these things. So how do you compare between our own system, CGSpace, and other guy who made a lot of money? We are not making any cent from CGSpace, I suppose.
Any money, no.
PubMed, all these guys, they make million and million US dollar.
Yeah, but so CGSpace has a different content. So PubMed and Scopus and Web of Science and all these things, it's only peer-reviewed scientific journal literature, book literature, chapters. That's what it is. In CGSpace, we also have, and I think that's because we have a different audience. This audience is not scientists only. Yeah. We have a lot of policy material, we have a lot of extension material,
presentation,
training material, presentations, posters, infographics, videos, all these. So what basically it's a kind of course, as a research organization, the science outputs are often valued the most. And when you do your performance review, they ask you how many journal articles you produce. But increasingly in our world, engagement, interaction with other organizations, development partners, journal articles is not the best way. So CGSpace contains a lot of other information, and that's not peer reviewed. Very often it is internally reviewed, but it won't be scientifically reviewed. It may be reviewed more for consistency, for English, and for the different users it is. Yeah. So it's not comparable in that sense.
Yeah.
Like you also CAB International have a huge database but again it's primarily the scientific knowledge.
Yeah, and I think this makes a lot of sense. Like you explained from the beginning on the concept of open access.
Yeah.
Many people in the global south cannot afford to publish in these systems, and CGIAR offers that platform.
Yes, yeah.
And sometimes we struggle a bit, we ask our question, shall we upload some of the peer review publication we publish here and there in journal paper in our CGSpace and that is really important context. But
what you mentioned there, the authors, so one of the strong points of CGSpace also is it has a lot of content from the partners, you know, but many of the reports we write, they're written together with all the partners. So when I was in Ethiopia, we were working with the Ethiopian Institute, was our neighbor, and they also were building a repository. But we had in our repository a huge amount of publications authored by Ethiopians and about Ethiopia. So we were able to, when they built their repository, we could say to them, okay, because of the open access, we also have an open exchange mechanism. They could download, they could include our Ethiopian knowledge into their Ethiopian database.
Yeah,
you could do something similar for Vietnam. I don't know how much.
I did. You know, we indexed quite a bit of papers and reports from Vietnam into our CGSpace since you work there. It's very good for that, and I think that it helped to solve a bit of problem of open access.
Yes.
You know, some people cannot pay for that even for some project. So Peter, it's good to know that, you know, you are the pioneer of this thing.
Okay, with many friends though.
With many friends, and you know, I remember when we met in Ethiopia, that word Mahider, right?
Yes.
It's a local language.
Yes, it's in Amharic, and it means something like the storage, the store or the file or the folder, something like that. So that's what we call the original. But when it became bigger, the other centers were like, why do we have an Ethiopian name for this thing? So we just, because the software is DSpace, so we called it CGSpace. That was the way the name came from.
That is a good name.
Title.
Okay, moves to something else. You know that, you know, I was here for 5 years.
Yes.
You know, leading a health program here, and I left Nairobi to be back to the region.
Yeah.
And I came back after only 2 months, and probably I come back here every 2 or 3 months, and people said, "Oh, listen, you are here again. You are back."
Yeah.
So Peter, you left ILRI, but you never left ILRI. So in this sense, how do you think about that when people ask you this kind of question?
It's difficult to leave the CGIAR. It's actually quite good because it gives you different perspectives, and it's good to work in different places. I think when I left. I didn't leave because I really wanted to leave, but for family reasons, we needed to leave ILRI, and ILRI didn't have a way for me to stay involved. But I kept on. I've been consulting with ILRI, and I've been working on projects with ILRI. I've been involved in many activities of ILRI. So I think in some ways, you don't lose because the mission is really important. You learn about it. You learn about for me as a communication, information, knowledge manager, you learn what this is, and one of your value adds is that I understand what's going on. So I feel like you can still contribute to the mission even if you're not in ILRI. So I don't have a formal affiliation, but I'm happy to work with the people and on the topics.
That is very good, and of course, you know, you help us a lot, help me a lot as a CGIAR a lot because we was in Naivasha yesterday running this One Health Right shop, and I hope that, you know, we will have a good set of output coming out of our meeting to tell the world how, you know, CG, you know, make impact in One Health areas. So that's important.
I think that's we've been talking about CGSpace. So when I came back to ILRI, I worked for the CGIAR a long time ago. When I was younger, I worked for ISNAR, which was a center in the Netherlands. But coming back to ILRI, what I realized was, of course, you publish outputs, and we want them in the thing, but also there's an enormous amount of meetings and engagement. Scientists spend a lot of time talking, and very often, sometimes it's not very well focused, it's not very well facilitated. So when I was here, we spent a lot of time, let's make the knowledge open, and let's improve the way people interact and communicate. So your Naivasha Right Shop for me is a perfect example. We bring a group of people together. So this kind of facilitated dialogue with a purpose, I think, is really important. And when I first came, we had a launch workshop, an engagement workshop, a validation workshop, a planning workshop, and it was full of PowerPoints. And half the room, people, they just sit looking at a screen, and it's like, what a pity. My colleague Ewan Laborn, he always said, face-to-face is the most valuable time, so spend it well. You know, so I think, you know, so for me, the other side of the knowledge management thing has been get the content in order, but get the people interacting in a kind of a productive way. So I think our Right Shop now is a good example of that.
Yeah, I fully agree.
But you know, the big challenge has been to convince scientists that this is a good investment, because often I don't need that. I just do my PowerPoints and all of that. But I think you get a better meeting with some facilitation. Not always, you don't have to facilitate, but you have to think about the process. What are we trying to achieve? and how do we engage really well the people in the room.
You know that I learned a lot from you, and I got a lot of support from you on this process, discussion and facilitation. I think that I value also very much. And you told me that, you know, not many CG center or many organizations actually see in the same direction. It's often do themselves, etc. But I really see it as a added value or very valuable tool and facilitation to extract really key information. And my worry is, in fact, with Zoom and Teams and COVID, people tend to actually not to go to the in-person meeting because
really
of convenience. And I think that now some of the things could not be solved with online meeting. You need to meet.
And then there are some people who say, well, you know, for 2 years in COVID we never met, and look, we were still productive. But I don't know. I think face to face, if it's well organized, is the most useful. It's the most practical. You can get more out of it, and other things you don't plan for. I mean, the 3 days we had in Naivasha, we also saw nature, we socialized together, we worked together. It's a much different experience. But I think the problem is people think, oh, it's much cheaper, we'll just do a Teams meeting. But it's not the same. For routine check-ins, it's fine. We can do something like that. But it's...
Alan, you can come here. Come here to say hello.
That's very good.
Something else, and maybe, you know, we can finish by that one, to say goodbye to Alan as well. Come here. I saw you walking around, and, you know, I think that you wanted to say hello or goodbye to Alan.
I didn't even see the camera.
We are talking about CGSpace and all these things. I think that his name should be there. Hi, how are you?
How's it going, man?
You know.
This is other CGSpace.
My friend, I didn't know that you are out. Okay. Don't touch.
We're being videoed.
Don't touch my camera. We talked about CGSpace. Okay, very good.
Enjoy.
Last thing.
Are you coming to Alan's party?
We wouldn't have drink together in the poolside. Okay, last thing. You know, I didn't know that, you know, you stay in Thailand for a few years.
I was there for 3 years.
Thailand, you know, after that Ethiopia, Kenya, a bit on and off. I think that you have not been here. Now, you know, you are from, you're now in Edinburgh,
Yes.
And you know, the wife's from the Netherlands.
Yes.
So what, you know, and you work in development, you know, it's kind of mixed. What do you learn about all this cross, you know, culture, learning with your job, etc. What is the difference between all these countries and continent?
What's different about? Yes, I mean, of course, it's all very different. I mean, the Netherlands is very well known. People are very direct, and they're very. So when you work in the Netherlands, it's a lot of time is in meetings, and it's also very important to always be very strict and direct. So for a British person, so we like to have some humor, and we like to we're a bit careful sometimes about what we say. Whereas in Holland, you just say what you think, and if the person is upset, that's their problem. So you have to kind of find a way to work with this Dutch culture. In Thailand, it was completely. I mean, I really enjoyed. And maybe you have it also in Vietnam, in Southeast Asia. There's a kind of a softer approach, a more. I don't know. I found it a very welcoming. It was very open. It's a bit like the religion. They're very Buddhist, but nobody tries to make you a Buddhist. People just welcome you. You become part of the thing. And the social side was a really critical part. I had to learn the language, and that opens doors, of course. And I had to learn Dutch. That opens other doors, different doors than the Thai doors. But anyway, so the language and the culture is critical. And then Kenya and Ethiopia, they're also very, very different. I mean, completely different cultures. But I mean, how could you compare? I mean, the challenge, I mean, for me, is when this kind of, because the communication and all the facilitation, you need to find a way to bring everybody in. And it can be challenging. And in some countries, hierarchy is very, very important. And so how do you find a way to let people, if you want to engage people, how do you bring people into a discussion? And, you know, maybe the senior people have to sit apart so the juniors can have space.
That's true.
You know, some of those things are quite challenging, you know. It's I thoroughly enjoy it. I mean, I think they say learning another language will prevent dementia. So maybe that's good.
How about Vietnamese people?
Yeah, Vietnamese people, they're different again. I enjoy Vietnamese. You have a much more, you have a very active party, very social approach, I think. Yeah. Very, you know, it's like the Thais too. They love it too. In Thailand, you can't have a meeting without a social part. If the meeting has no social, they have a word. They say about a person. They say he is kayan, which means he's diligent. But it also means he doesn't have fun. So when someone says you are very diligent, it's not a positive.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he doesn't enjoy enough the party side.
Yeah,
and I
okay.
think in Vietnam I observed a little bit.
Yeah. You was
need
with,
to have the
with
social
us for
with
some
the work.
meeting and on this thing in
Yeah.
Central Plateau and also
Yeah,
some.
we were in Dak Lak, yeah.
In Dak Lak with,
and
yeah,
in
with our
Hanoi,
colleague.
yeah. And you need to have that as well.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I think that's really
true.
important.
Okay.
Yeah. But I want to say one last thing. One of the big things in this knowledge communication area is we need scientists to be communicators. And when I came to ILRI, many of them were, it's like, I do science and you communicate. But I'm seeing a big change. Some people, some of the scientists really want to be, so you're one of my star colleagues,
Thank you.
Because you need the scientists to communicate and to be aware of communication. Even if they're not brilliant, they have to understand why it's important. And I jokingly said the other day, a science diplomacy, it's really an important piece of nowadays, is be able to communicate across cultures and across countries and across levels.
I agree with you. That's why I try also to do this job, not
Yeah.
about science alone, but also how to communicate
Yeah.
it outside. And I
Yeah.
feel also that because we work for development sector, we are paid by public money.
Yeah.
I feel responsible also to communicate, to tell people
Yes.
what we are doing.
Yes. Yeah.
And that is also important in our life to communicate.
Yeah, it's part of accountability and being
So
responsible.
so Peter, lovely to talk with you.
Yeah, pleasure, yeah.
When we optimize our time quite nicely
Yes.
for this stay in Nairobi.
Yeah, we did.
Also Naivasha, and actually, I'm thinking of my friend Michael Victor, who took over from you
Yes.
a few years back.
Yes.
And
Yes.
actually today we are celebrating his departure
Yes.
after 7 years
Yeah.
at ILRI.
Yeah.
So Michael, if you look at this video, this is for you and for
Yeah.
communication
Yeah, yeah.
people.
We-
And
yeah.
he always makes jokes at home, listen, you do this, that. But I'm very
Yeah.
happy with Michael
Yeah.
with our communication staff here
Yeah.
at ILRI, here in Nairobi, in Addis Ababa, and with Chi in Vietnam and some
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah.
So lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you very much
Super, pleasure, great, super. And we drink a virtual cheers to Michael
to Michael.
as he
Okay.
goes to Switzerland. That's a good